Hello everybody, this is Tim here again, here another movie review, this time for Scream 6. We're screaming again for the sixth time, baby. Now, in terms of the Scream franchise, I've had my thoughts on it before in the past. Watching the movies again now or recently, I'll say I think Scream 1 is a masterpiece. I think it's easily the best film of the franchise, like by far, easily, bar none. Scream 2, I think, is actually an awesome sequel now. I didn't like it that much because I think I was just comparing it directly to the original really hard. Watching it now, I think it's honestly the best sequel, at least so far. I'd give it a 4 out of 4. It's an awesome sequel. Not a masterpiece like the original, but still the best sequel. Scream 3, I've actually went down on a little bit. I don't hate it or anything, like a lot of people do. It is the most divisive Scream entry. Overall, though, I'd give it a 2.5 out of 4. I thought this one was alright. I liked it. It's just nothing to like blow my mind over or anything. Scream 4 I actually think is great. I give it a 4 out of 4 simply because of the fact that it feels fresh. It feels like a standalone entry. After the first three felt like a complete trilogy. Really, you didn't even have to do a Scream 4, or you didn't have to do one with the original trio, like Dewey, Sidney and Gale. Really, you could have just made Scream 4 the start of a new trilogy, for like a new series with new characters. And really, that's probably what they should have done with Scream 4. But overall, though, for what it is, that just kind of feels like another sequel. I'd give it a 4 out of 4. I appreciate that it started its own story. I enjoyed that aspect about it. After Scream 4, we got Scream 5. Scream 5, I'd give a 3 out of 4. I thought it was good. It was fine. I liked it. It wasn't great, but it was good for the fifth entry in the slasher franchise. I didn't like the whole CGI Force Ghost Billy Loomis thing. Skeet Ulrich, not my thing. This plus the CGI just looks bad. The obvious like de aging on the face looks bad. That looks like digital airbrushing, and it looks bad. Now we get up to Scream 6, and I'll go ahead and say it. I like this better than Scream 5. It's better than Scream 3 as well. I don't think it's as good as Scream 1 and 2. Um, or Scream 4. It comes close to like beating Scream 4 multiple times, and there are some parts of this one that are probably more entertaining than Scream 4, but overall, by the end, I don't think this is as tight as Scream 4. I think Scream 4 had the benefit of just feeling like more like a standalone movie, and that's what this one doesn't have that because this really is a direct sequel to Scream 5. This feels like a continuation of the trilogy that they're doing with the new Scream 5, 6, and obviously going to be greenlit 7 because this movie is doing tremendous box office opening numbers for the Scream series. So and this is really like a direct sequel to that number 5, while at the same time also being a franchise sequel to the other films. And they make jokes about that in this, how legacy characters are expendable and all that and everything. And they don't kill off like Gale or Sydney. And Sydney they couldn't get back because they couldn't meet Nev Campbell's asking price, so they had to write her out. So basically, they say that she's in hiding or whatever, and that she sends her love to the people and all that. The characters, which makes sense. On one hand, I'm like, that doesn't really seem like a Sydney thing to do. It seems like she would come out and start fighting or whatever, and she would just let her husband, who's supposed to be the Patrick Dempsey character from 3, which I do like that. It's supposed to she would probably let him like watch the kids, and protect them while she went out and whooped Ghostface's ass. That'd be more believable. But overall, though, if they can't get her back, I thought that was a fine way to write her out for this particular movie. And I do think they'll probably get her back for the next one. Um, but yeah, um, so you got Gale back. I do miss Dewey in this. I will say I did miss David Arquette. I like the little tribute they paid to him where Courtney Cox talks about like missing him and all that and everything. And she has like a rebound dude in this for only like one scene, and he gets killed off in the background. He's like this big buff black dude that she's obviously just dating just for the fact that he's a rebound guy. She's just kind of jumping into it, and two, because he's big and buff, and it feels like she's kind of keeping him around just for security. And after so many friggin' attacks from different ghost faces, who can blame her? But the other thing in this I didn't like with the Gale character is she shows up in the Sam and Tara character, the sisters from the last movie. They're like mad at her because she wrote a book about the incident, so they're repeating once again that whole thing from Scream 1 again, and 2, where it's like, oh, I wrote another book, and then Sam tries to punch her, and Gail dodges it, which was kind of funny, and Tara throws a punch, and she actually hits her, which was also kind of funny. But at the same time, you're repeating the Gail thing again with her writing books and all that shit. I'm just so over this like character arc type thing or whatever for Gail. It's just this is really old at this point. You get into the new cast. I'll say this: like the whole film buff thing with the Mindy character and all that. I didn't really care too much for her in the last movie. Here, she's actually more fun. I liked her in this one. I still don't love her. I think part of my problem with the new film geek characters in each movie and all that is that Randy, the Jamie Kennedy character, is really the be all end all film geek character for me in this franchise because he started the series in #1, and everybody then is just kind of like they've been trying to recapture that Randy magic just by repeating the character, and I've just not really needed it, to be honest. Like, just do somebody different. I don't really need like another film geek character in this series. I really don't. Um, or they should have just kept Jamie Kennedy alive. You can tell they made a mistake killing him off of #2. You can tell that they feel that. They probably should have just killed Dewey in that one. Like, it really felt like Dewey should have died in #2, especially when he gets that epic death at the end. If they had killed him along with Randy in #2, that really would have amped 2 up to being almost as good as part 1 because it really would have showed anyone could die at that point. But since they left Dewey alive, it almost feels like blue balls at the fact that they killed Randy, you know? Like they probably should have just left him alive too. If they weren't gonna kill Dewey, if they were gonna chicken out, they should have left Randy alive. But yeah. Overall, I love the kills in this though. I like that this Ghostface in here is much more of like a badass. This is the most deadly Ghostface we've had in terms of like hand-to-hand combat and weapons and all that. And you can tell it's a man behind the outfit because there's a scene where he like breaks in on the characters and he's like going after the Mindy chick's girlfriend. He literally like one armed picks her up and like picks and lifts her up and then stakes her in the gut or stabs her in the gut. I mean, eventually she's going to bleed out anyway. And you get seen in the trailer where they're like crossing over the ladder from one building to the other and he starts like shaking it and she falls off and hits her head directly on this trash can and like, you know, totally mutilates her face, takes her out, and brutal kill. I'll say this is a much more fast-paced movie than Scream 5. Like, they're moving like really quick in this one for the most part. Overall though, over halfway through it does start to like lag because it's slowing down somewhat. Part of that is because this is the longest Scream movie, and I will say I did feel it towards the third act. Like, this is a bit too long. You kind of get the idea about who this Ghostface could be, though, because he is so good at combat and all that, and he can only really be a cop or someone with some kind of training background. And the fact that we have 2 cop characters in this, like one new dude, and the Kirby character shows back up as an FBI agent. And I'll say this, hey, Hayden Panettiere, she does good in here. This made me like the Kirby character more. She does good acting in here, and I appreciate the fact that they made her like an FBI agent and all that. I will say this: I think it probably would have been more clever and smarter to actually have her be the killer at the end, and just have it to be where she was even inspired by the killers in Scream 4 to become her own Ghostface killer. I only say that because of the fact that we've never had a returning character from another sequel or whatever who's been a survivor who has turned into a ghost face. You know what I'm saying? So I think that honestly would have been a much more impactful twist. But what they do end up going with, I actually will say I liked. By the time you get to the end, you figure out that it is the dude cop or whatever, it's him, and he was the father of Richie, the boyfriend from the last movie. Of course, they do pay tribute to Scream 2 here with this movie, like the original Scream 2. They pay tribute here with it being a father back for revenge instead of a mother like in Scream 2 with the Laura Metcalf character, the chick from Roseanne, who is Billy's mom. And here we got Richie's dad. So they pay tribute to it. But also here he brings his other 2 children, Richie's sister and Richie's other brother, which is kind of weird at the same time because you would think that, well, we don't really know how long like him and Sam dated. You would think that she might have some idea that he had other family members or whatever. But, you know, they don't. But yeah, they show up here and it's all like it's 3 Ghostface. I will say it's actually 5 if you count the opening where this other Ghostface and his partner are killed. They open the movie with them like killing friggin' Samara Weaving from Ready or Not, which was a pretty cool surprise kill. And then he pulls off his mask and it's the asshole, the guy who's bothering Tom Holland in the Spider-Man MCU movies, the dude who plays the new Flash, which I don't like his Flash because he doesn't feel like the comics. But here though, he works, and I think the actor did a good job. You really could have just made the movie based around him, but they nipped that in the bud at the beginning here, and I like that. I like the opening twist here. We got one ghost face who shows up and actually kills another. That was pretty cool. That was a smart idea for an opening for one of these movies, and he's like watching Jason Takes Manhattan in the background. Obviously an in joke because this movie takes place in New York, and I'll say that they use New York. They use New York good here. I like the new setting here. One other thing is because this movie is fast paced and it's more of like an action driven piece. Once again, they're copying that from Scream 2, the Wes Craven one, which had more action in it. They're trying to move it at a pace, like a faster pace that one had. Which I'm not saying that's a problem. It's not. It makes sense for a new like franchise sequel that's paying tribute to the legacy that they would, pay tribute to Scream 2 in different types of ways and all that. It makes sense here. And it's not like overdone like it was in Scream 5, which in Scream 5 they made a point that was part of the movie, like the meta commentary or whatever, but it still felt a bit overdone in that one. Here, though, it's more subtle, like the paying tribute to Scream 2 is, and it works for the most part here, or pretty much for all the part, really, I'd say. But yeah, you get to the end, you got the action and all that, and the three different ghost faces chasing after the characters. The character Chad in this, I actually didn't care about too much in the last one. Like, he was just kind of there, and he got attacked by Ghostface and got his ass kicked. Here, like, between movies, the dude is, like, really buffed up, so they make that, like, a point in the movie of how he's, like, the big buff jock guy who's trying to protect Jenna Ortega's character. Like, he's trying, he's got a crush on her or whatever. And he does like protect her from being date raped basically at the beginning of the movie, which, it actually warmed me up to the Chad character more. In the last movie, I thought he was pretty useless, and I really didn't even understand why they let him live. Really, I didn't really see what the point was. Here, though, he is more likable in the movie, but at the same time, by making him more likable, and then they give him this big epic death scene at the end, and then they miraculously have him survive, like, in no explanation, no way humanly possible he would have survived. Which they did that because they wanted to pay tribute to Scream 2, where Dewey, of course, got knifed in the back and was like bleeding through the mouth and all that shit on the other side of the glass in Scream 2, and there was no way he would have survived that either, and that bothered me in that movie. Like, if you're going to pay tribute to stuff from Scream 2, pay tribute to the stuff that worked. Like, having Chad miraculously survive an attack that was even more unsurvivable than what Dewey went through, that really aggravated me in this. Like, Chad gets attacked by two different ghost faces, and they like holding him down or whatever, and holding him, and then they both start stabbing him in the chest, like multiple times through the chest, and then they wipe their blades off, like Ghostface's signature move. Epic, epic scene. One of the best in the movie. There's no way this dude would survive like 5 shots in the chest by two different knife blades. There's no way. There is no way. And then he miraculously shows up at the end, like, surviving. They're doing that to pay tribute to Dewey in Scream 2. I get it. But at the same time, that was something I didn't like in Scream 2, so I'm not liking it here. I like it even less here because it's even less survivable. But yeah, did not like that at all. That should not have been there. Chad should have died in this movie. But yeah, you get to the end. Once again, you got the Sam girl or whatever who does the Nev Campbell thing where she gets the Ghostface outfit and she manages to take like the lead cop dude out, Richie's father. He has some funny lines. He does act more cartoony towards the climax here, but his lines are funny. Where he's like, I never really liked these scary movies like Richie did. They were always too dark for me, which is, ironic considering he's killing multiple people. But you get to the end, she puts on the mask or whatever, and she takes him out with a bunch of knife wounds. And then she's like, I'm not a killer like my father or whatever. And she goes, but you did fuck with our family, talking about her core group of friends in this who have survived the last movie. And then so she finishes him off by stabbing him to the face, which pretty cool kill. But at the same time, it's like, well, it would have been interesting if she actually did leave the dude alive and he did get arrested. That would have been a change of pace, to show maybe that she's not as brutal as her father. But yeah, they're still playing up that whole will she, won't she turn into a psychopath or whatever, or go crazy like Billy Loomis, and you never really buy it with this actress. Like, she does good as the lead, like the new Nev Campbell character, but you never buy into the idea that she's like gonna turn into a ghost face or go completely crazy or something. Neither Five nor this makes me believe that at all. Like, this actress is just, she's too she's too wholesome, too much like, in the acting realm. She just doesn't have like an inherent darkness about her that she can really pull out. Once again, her acting is fine, but it's not believable that she's ever going to turn evil. Is not. But yeah, at the end though, she has like her father Billy Loomis's mask. Like, and that's another thing. The killers are like leaving different masks and stuff like that at crime scenes, but they skip Timothy Olyphant and Mickey's character from part 2. Like, they completely skip him. I don't know why, if that was a deleted scene or something from this movie, but they totally skip it. Maybe it's just a plot hole. But she has like her father's mask, and she like leaves it laying on the ground at the end of the movie as she walks off with her sister, who they've become stronger in bond at this point. So it's like, you could really end like this whole arc thing at this point of like, will she, won't she go crazy? Because they're not going to go that way. These movies just don't feel like they would do that with the main character, and you just don't buy it. So she leaves it laying there, and as she walks off with Tara, so it's like, well, it feels like they've kind of wrapped that plot line up. If they want to, they could stop with it right there. Unless they want to bring Stu back in the next one. They kind of hint at Stu being alive here, but at the same time, they also kind of hint that he could be truly dead. With the whole, like, they got the TV from Scream 2, or Scream 1 back again. They throw it on one of the killer's head at the end, the other brother of Richie, which causes him to die after he's already been stabbed in the mouth. Which is kind of a way for them to say that, yeah, Stu did die from the TV in part 1. But at the same time, they also talk about conspiracy theories that Stu may be alive, which, of course, is an in-joke about how fans online talk about Stu being alive. Really? And the directors have been interviewed, and one of them saying, "Yeah, that was our way of saying Stu's dead." And then the other directors like, "Well, we it's a franchise and all that, and we could like bring them back, in different ways and all that. And the actors want to come back because Scream's such a part of their lives." Basically, what they're really saying is they're just cock teasing around, and that they're gonna think about it if they want Stu to come back. If they feel like they get a good story, they will. And you could write this movie pays tribute to Scream 2. You could make number 3 like pay tribute to, or number 7 pay tribute to Scream 3, and have it be to where like Stu is the secret, over the top mastermind of this whole new trilogy, and like he coached Richie and all that shit for Scream 5. And you could play it up even to like where what does he want to do with Sam? Because she's Billy's kid. He was really close with Billy. Does he want to kill her? Does he want to make her like carry on the Ghostface legacy? Does he want her to become his teammate? I mean, you could go many directions with that, and you could even tie that into like her maybe turning into the dark side if you want to continue that plot line, and have that be like the final test of like will she or won't she be seduced over to the dark side by the person who was basically her father's number one friend in part 1. But yeah, you could go that direction if you want. Overall, I'll give this a 3.5 out of 4. Another thing I will say with it is that because of the faster pace, like when the lesbian Mindy chick or whatever, when her girlfriend gets killed, like later on in the movie, she's like joking around like it's no big deal and everything. So it's like because of the faster pace, they don't want to keep you like feeling down, and so instead of having the characters like logically be depressed and mourn through most of the rest of the movie, they still have them like joking around and laughing. So it's like, ah, your girlfriend, dad who you're supposed to be in love with meant nothing. So it's like. Yeah, that was a problem. Another thing at the end is you got the obvious plot hole where the guy who turns out to be the killer, the cop, and his 2 children, they've got Sam and Tara like dead to rights. They could kill him any moment, and instead he's gonna sit there and go, "I'm going to tell you my entire plot." That old cliche that's in so many movies. It's annoyed me really bad. And he's like, "Put on your father's ghost face mask so we can kill you in it, so we can pin all these crimes on you to show what a psycho loser you are." And it's like, and she's like, "I won't do that." And so that's what causes the big chase because they want to force her to put on the mask and all that. It's like major plot hole there because literally all the dude has to do as a cop is just shoot her, kill her right then and there, and then just put the mask on her after she's dead. That's literally all he had to do. So yeah, the ending does get a little silly, but overall it still keeps up the entertainment value. So overall, 3.5 out of 4. This was a pretty good, fun movie. I had a really fun time with it overall. I recommend it if you're a Scream fan. It's one of the better movies in the franchise. Not a perfect movie. Has great moments. Comes close to greatness, but overall though it's a bit too long and gets a bit kind of silly towards the third act. Just with the whole "I'm going to reveal my entire plot" scene that every one of these movies kind of has, but at the same time, you notice it more here because the whole point of the ending, like climax, is that he's like, "Put on the mask," and she won't do it, so he has to start chasing her. So it's like, just kill her and do it yourself, and then just cover it up because you're a cop and you can get away with this easy. So, but overall though, yeah, 3.5 out of 4, pretty good movie, really enjoyable. I recommend it, and thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again.